From an outsider's perspective, Carli Lloyd and Megan Rapinoe seem to be good friends. They have played together on the U.S. women's soccer team for years now. They have experienced the pinnacle of success alongside each other in their field. Hell, for years, they have been fighting together to get women equal pay to men in sports. I criticize social justice warriors all the time here on the channel. I'm highly critical of SJWs that are fighting, but never reveal what they're fighting for or they're fighting against a myth. Gwen Berry would be a prime example of this. Gwen Berry says that she is fighting against oppression, but she doesn't give any examples of who is being oppressed in America. Essentially, Gwen Berry is fighting against a myth made up in her own mind. You can throw Raven Saunders into that category too. At least with Megan Rapinoe and Carli Lloyd, we know one of their causes. I don't agree with it, but I at least respect the fact that they're open with what they are fighting for. Women do not deserve equal pay to men in sports. I have done extensive research on this subject, posted a few videos on it. You can find them in the archives if you're interested. Carli Lloyd makes over $500,000 every year to play soccer. When you look at revenue and television ratings, that salary seems about right to me. Now, they'll point to guys like Steph Curry, who now makes over $50 million a year in the NBA, 100 times the amount of money that Carli Lloyd is making. When Steph Curry's in the playoffs, depending on the round, he's drawing 5-10 million more viewers than Carli Lloyd and Megan Rapinoe are drawing on the soccer field. It's not difficult to understand why Steph Curry's making significantly more money. So Megan Rapinoe and Carli Lloyd have been fighting arm in arm for equal pay for women for years now. Like I said, from an outsider's perspective, they seem to be good friends. However, there seems to be a wedge, a huge disagreement between two of the biggest stars on the women's soccer team. Megan Rapinoe and damn near every other player on the roster, they continue to promote social justice before every game by taking a knee before the game starts, while Carli Lloyd stands on her own 2 feet like a normal person. The women's soccer team made the decision to start standing for the national anthem back in February. However, they had been kneeling for the anthem since 2016. After Megan Rapinoe saw Colin Kaepernick kneel for the anthem, she was just so inspired. So she led the women's team in kneeling before the anthem. It didn't receive a lot of press coverage until recently, maybe a year or so ago, because people in America don't watch men's soccer, much less women's soccer. But Carli Lloyd has refused to kneel. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know about this until I did research for this story. To the shock of absolutely no one, the mainstream media hasn't focused much on this story. If the article I came across on this hadn't been buried deep on my news feed, I wouldn't have known about it. My source originally was Yardbarker, a site I imagine most of you have never heard of. I'm vaguely familiar with it, but I don't know much about Yardbarker. My point is, the mainstream media is not covering this story. After I saw it on Yardbarker, I Googled Carli Lloyd. The usual media outlets mention the story, Fox News, the New York Post, but you won't find this story on NBC News, Yahoo, CNN, ESPN. None of them, as of the time I'm recording this video, none of them mention this story. Hell, I even saw a blue check mark on Twitter, kind of in a way, call out the mainstream media about this. Molly Hensley Clancy, who I've never heard of before and have no idea why she's verified. I checked her out. She is a sports reporter for the Washington Post. That should tell you all you need to know about her. She said that she was curious if anyone has asked Carli Lloyd why she refused to kneel before games in the Olympics. As a sports reporter, if she knew what the hell she was doing, she would know why Carli Lloyd's not kneeling. But God forbid a reporter at the Washington Post do a little research. Carli Lloyd has given her reason multiple times as to why she doesn't kneel. She said that she fully supports Megan Rapinoe kneeling in the fight against racism. I'm not even going to go into the idiocy of white soccer players kneeling to fight racism. We all know by now these political demonstrations by athletes accomplish nothing. But the woke demonstrations do accomplish one thing, and that one thing is the reason Carli Lloyd refuses to participate. She feels the protesting and the pretending to be SJWs takes the focus away from the team and its performance and shifts that focus to political topics. Perhaps that's a good thing recently, since the performance of the women's soccer team has rapidly declined. The decline could be from a variety of factors. The team is aging. The performance of athletes decline as they age. However, with all the evidence that we have available now that proves anyone and anything involved in woke politics meets their own demise, it's hard not to argue that involving politics with the women's soccer team didn't have an impact. This is a team that had a 44-game winning streak going into this summer. They were unbeatable. Now, critics will argue about how great this team really is, since the competition in women's sports on a global scale isn't on the same level as the men, for obvious reasons. Women in countries around the world don't have the same rights as women in America. It's funny when you think about the irony. Women in countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, they would be happy to have the right to leave the house by themselves, much less play soccer. They'd be happy to be given a set of car keys, get in the car and drive. They would be happy to see a man in a bar or a mall that they find attractive and be able to flirt with him without being stoned to death or brutally raped and tortured. And here we have our women soccer players in the United States, fighting against the myth of systemic racism, complaining about their $500,000 a year salaries, whining they aren't paid equal to their male counterparts when they don't draw a tenth of the audience or the revenue. Like I said, it's hard to argue against the fact that Megan Rapinoe and the rest of the team turning into SJWs didn't have an effect on their performance. This team went from dominating their opponents to consistently losing. I don't know the politics of Carli Lloyd. Hell, I really don't know much about her at all. But I commend her for having the courage to literally take a stand while everyone else around her was taking a knee. That is not an easy thing to do. Hell, even the damn referees in that game yesterday were on their damn knees. Literally, everyone on the field is on their knee while one courageous woman takes a real stand. Now, I'm not a body language expert, so take my opinion on this with a grain of salt. Carli Lloyd was standing there with her hands on her hips, kind of staring around with a look on her face that said, "This is so ridiculous." Carli Lloyd probably knows these political demonstrations do nothing to help their cause to get equal pay. We already know women's soccer is not drawing an audience. We already play in front of half-empty stadiums. You see the evidence with the NBA. Hell, even the ratings for the Olympics themselves, that people are turning away from sports that become too political. How are these social justice demonstrations supposed to help women get equal pay? The answer is it doesn't. It doesn't shock me that the mainstream media is not covering this story. Earlier this week, they buried the pro-America comments when the female wrestler won the gold medal. The media consistently buries stories that paint America in a positive light. Anything they can find negative about America, a police shooting, anything related to Donald Trump, they'll promote the hell out of it. Anything positive about the country, they just pretend it never happened. All right, let me know what you think about Carli Lloyd being the only player on the women's soccer team that took a real stand. Also, give me your thoughts on the mainstream media ignoring the story altogether. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.